Well, hello everybody, Jason of New 80s Revolution office on this snowy Thursday evening. It's approaching 5:30. I've been working since 11. Had a little 1-hour break just now, and I'm just finished up an episode of Hotel. Great show. Great show. If you like the primetime 80s adult soap opera type stuff, Hotel's a good one. It's along the same lines of Dallas and Dynasty and Knots Landing and shows like that. So anyway, it's the Power Hour, folks. I've got a half hour of time, so we're going to do the Power Hour. It is a very specific topic, a work-related topic, which is why I'm doing it in the office. My longtime friend of the channel, Carlos R.C. D'Amatos, as he is known in the comments and in likely real life. He has some questions about my career, this field in particular. For those of you who don't know, for those of you who are new to the channel, I am in the mental health field. I'm a mental health / addictions therapist in private practice. This is my office. I work for myself. I'm self-employed, and I've been doing this probably 20 years, but doing the private practice for about 12 years or so. Self-employment has many more perks than it has drawbacks. The only drawbacks of self-employment are I don't have PTO, I don't have paid time off, I don't have sick time, I don't have vacation time. So when I am out or when I'm on vacation, I don't get paid. I also have to take care of my own health insurance and my taxes, which are dreadful. Those are the only. So when you work for a company, any company, obviously, when you get your paycheck, it's less than you should have made because of all the taxes that came out of it. But at the end of the year, when you file your taxes, most of you get money back. I pay about $12,000 a year in income tax, which is just, but that's not the question. So those are the only drawbacks. The benefits of self-employment are massive. I make my own hours. I only work about 30 hours a week. The insurance companies pay me a very silly amount for what I do. They pay a large amount, so I'm thankful. I have a love-hate relationship with insurance companies, but they pay my salary, so I like them a little bit. I have autonomy, freedom, right? This is my office. It's my. There's no company telling me what I can have in here and what I can't have. There's no company telling me how to dress, what time to be here, whether or not I should wear shoes, because I don't. Whether or not there should be a The Kramer poster on my wall, because there is. This phone is leaning up against a television because it's my office and I do what I want. Anyway, Carlos wanted to know if I have had any unsafe, dangerous situations in this field. He also wants to know, the second half of his question is, would it be worth it for somebody in their 40s to go back to school, I assume, to get a degree to do this, and we'll talk about that. But the first question was, have I ever been in any kind of compromising positions, any danger in this field? So it depends on what you do in this field. So Carlos talks about psychology degree in the next question. I'll get to that. And for those of you who aren't interested in this, I apologize. Go back and watch an old fun video about LJNs or something. But maybe some of you are interested. I don't actually have a psychology degree. The degree that actually opens more doors in this field is a social work degree, believe it or not. And the social work tag has been notoriously criticized for decades as being an extremely low-paying field. When you think of social workers, you think of social services and welfare systems and child protective services and things like that. And yes, that is a path that you can go down with a social work degree. But the psychology degree actually pigeonholes you a bit into only doing one particular kind of work. But I'll get to that. So in my field, there are so many different levels of employment. And when you start off in this field, when you're still a college student, when you're still working on your bachelor's degree, you're going to work at the grassroots level. You're going to work in hospitals. You're going to work in clinics. You're going to do all kinds of stuff. And I think the level of danger is higher when you're working those grassroots types of positions. So my grassroots position when I first started this field was I worked at something called the day treatment program for an old hospital that's torn down now. I was in my 20s and I would drive a van around the city of Rochester and pick up maybe 5 or 6 people in this massive van, drive them back to the clinic, to the program, and sit with them for basically 45 minutes or an hour, feed them breakfast, try to have some kind of conversation with them, and then take them back home into their poverty, into their drug neighborhoods, and just awful lives. And I guess that was potentially dangerous, but nothing ever happened like that. I've worked in psych hospitals where so I would have been the person, so if you go to a psych hospital, which I hope you don't, you have to talk to somebody before you get admitted into the psych unit. So I would be the PAO, it was called Psychiatric Assignment Officer. I would be sitting there in a hospital office doing nothing until they brought in a patient. And then I would have to interview that person and talk with them and find out what's going on and why are they, why are they here, what's happening. And then I would have to consult with a psychiatrist and determine whether or not that person was safe to go home or whether or not they were going to be admitted into the hospital. And that was potentially dangerous, but nothing ever happened there either. That position was awful because there's so much criticism about whether or not we should have kept a person. And remember, I don't have the final decision. The psychiatrist does. The hospital, who might have no beds left in the psych unit, they might be pushing for discharge of that person. So many times a hospital has discharged a psych patient, and that psych patient has either walked out of the hospital and killed themselves or killed someone else or got into it with police and got shot or got, whatever. So, you don't, it's not a great position to have. But nothing ever happened there either as far as conflict or violence or anything like that. Private practice for the last 12 years, nothing. Again, you could be in situations if you're doing home visits in the city and I'm not sure if the danger would come from the family or if the danger would come from the neighbors who see you pulling up and going into this house. I don't know. It just depends, I guess, on what part of this field you're going to get into. through the 20 years plus 25 years that I've been doing this, you learn how to talk to people. And so even if there is a dangerous situation, I'm I'm hopefully going to be able to de-escalate the situation. I mean, that's been my whole career, is learning how to talk to people and de-escalate them and get them off of their guard and bring down their defenses. And I like to do that. If I was not doing this, I would have probably wanted to be a negotiator, a hostage negotiator, or just a negotiator on the police force who goes and talks somebody out of a house or talks somebody off of a bridge. I would love to have done that, because I've done it, throughout my career. I have broken up fights before with just discussion. I shouldn't have. I think those are probably stupid, dangerous situations, but I've gotten in the middle of people arguing and fighting in public and broken them up, which again, it's just stupid, but it's kind of like in me, it's sort of my nature. I remember it happened in a department store one time in the parking lot, some kind of road rage thing. And one person had a baseball bat and the other person was being held back by their family. And my dumb ass just got out of the car and started negotiating and diffused the situation, and everybody left, and that was it. And then afterwards, I'm like, what on earth did I do that for? I don't think I'll be doing that often or ever again. I'm sure at some point I'd probably get shot, but I just did it. I also broke up a fight between my neighbors once. They were actually punching each other, and I stopped that too. So while there's potential for danger, I think you learn how to talk to people and how to diffuse situations. So that's been good. So no to your question. Have I ever found myself in danger? No, I've never felt threatened in this field. I've never felt in danger. I would go into the city with confidence after a while, after working with that group that I was talking about earlier, years and years ago, very first job in the field, where you shouldn't have that confidence. I think once I started getting used to the city and used to the population that I was working with, I think all those maybe even prejudices or whatever just started to go away. Now, you're not an idiot. You don't let your guard down completely and think nothing's going to happen to you, but you just are aware of your surroundings and everything's okay. So yeah, never anything. So that's cool. That day treatment program that I did work for, there was often some, because these were folks that were extremely mentally ill, very mentally ill folks with psychotic disorders and things like that. So they would often fight and argue. And so I've been in some of those in between some of these loud confrontations, but I was never the target. So no to that question. Carlos also says, is it too late for a person in their 40s to go back and get into this field? Well, I'll tell you. So you're going to need to dedicate, probably, it depends on your previous college credits or history. From scratch, this took me 6 years to get the master's degree. Obviously, you do 2 years at junior college or your associate's degree, 2 years for your bachelor's degree, 2 years for your master's degree. No matter what anybody tells you, you do not have to go any further than a master's degree, unless you want to be a doctor. If you want to be a doctor, then you got to get your PhD. But the field does not offer you much more. With more education, unless you want to again be a psychiatrist, then you're an MD. You have to go to medical school if you want to be a psychiatrist. If you want to be a doctor of psychology, then you have to get your PhD. But I really don't see any benefit to doing that at all. So I wouldn't do that. So a master's degree is the degree that's going to open the most doors for you. And that takes 6 years, right? Once you get that master's degree, well, as you're working on your bachelor's degree, you're going to be put into internships. You're going to be placed out in the community. You're going to do work. You're going to get some experience. You could easily get a job while you were working on your bachelor's degree. I did. That's that continuing day treatment program that I talked about. I was a few months shy of graduating with my bachelor's degree when I got hired. The master's degree is what the state will typically pay for when it comes to clinic mental health therapy and things like that. So I always knew from the beginning that I was not going to work in a clinic. I was not going to work in a hospital. I was going to work for myself, by myself, and just do it that way. That was the goal from the beginning. So in order to do what I do, this New York State required a master's degree plus 3 years of postgraduate work. 3 years of postgraduate work, and in that 3 years, 3 years of supervision by somebody with the appropriate degree. So thankfully I got that. Then I could apply for a license that added a certain letter to my credentials. After that, I needed another 3 years of work and supervision to get another letter added to my initials that allowed me to bill insurances. So 6 years post-grad, I could apply to bill insurance companies to sit here and do this and get paid by insurance companies. If I didn't want that letter, it's called an R number. If I didn't want that, I could still sit here privately with people, but I couldn't bill their insurance. They'd have to self-pay me, which a lot of people do. A lot of people do. They charge astronomical rates to sit and talk with somebody for an hour, which I don't do because I don't think that I don't think there's longevity in it, especially as finances get tighter for people and more people are choosing what to spend their money on. Nobody's going to sit down and pay you $185 an hour to nod and smile and talk about their stress. They're not going to do it. They might do it once, maybe twice, but they're not going to do it consistently. When you have insurance is going to pay for everything. So people will come, as often as they need to and not have to worry about either having any payment or they have a small co-payment. So I obviously prefer to work with the insurance companies. So it took me 6 years to get that. And then you have to get off the ground. You have to get up and running. You have to have a caseload. So I did this part-time for a while and worked at a hospital. It was miserable, was dying. I hated it. I once, because I was working for myself part-time, and then I'd go to this bureaucratic entity that I hated that was paying me a fifth of what the insurance companies wanted to pay me, but I couldn't do it full-time because I didn't have enough people. I need 30 people a week. So if I'm seeing people every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks or monthly or weekly, you really need about 60, 65 people on your that are seeing you to really maintain this. So that took a while, but with advertising and making contacts in my town and stopping into the doctor's offices and bringing them some bagels and a whole stack of business cards. There's a Facebook page for this, for this Hilton Mental Health, my entity, that I occasionally post, hey, it's the holidays, and if you're depressed, I'll do something like that. Living and working in a small town is helpful. You become the mental health guy in the town, so that was great. I probably wouldn't be as successful if I lived in a big city. I would just be just another provider. But being in a small town, it's great. It's great. Finding office space is relatively easy for the most part. It's just about keeping your caseload going and keeping yourself in good standing. Providing services that people will refer you word of mouth. I have had hundreds and hundreds of referrals because of other people that I was seeing. They would just refer me. Getting to know the school district is pretty good. Once you start working with kids, high school, you become known in the high school. That's good. So yeah, that's how this works. So your question, is it too late? No, it's not too late at all. By any means is it too late. It's just you're going to need to put in a good 6 years. Now, you can do accelerated programs for bachelor's and master's degrees. It might take you a year. You might have to go absolutely nuts and have little to no time on your hands, but you could get a bachelor's degree done in a year. You could get a master's degree done in a year. You just have to hit it really hard. And I think it gets a little tougher as you get older because you've got a family to take care of and a mortgage to pay for and a job that you've been at that expects you to be there, 40 hours a week or so. But if you have the flexibility and you have somebody helping you out, then you can get this done. You're not too old. I think this field welcomes maturity. And then you got to decide what part of this field do you want to work in. Do you want to do the counseling part? This is only one part of this field. You could work at the Department of Social Services. You could process people's applications for rental assistance or food assistance or something like that. You could work for Child Protective Services, which is the worst job in the world. You could work in the prison system. You could work in the hospital system and be a hospital social worker who does discharges and make sure people, there's tons of stuff in this field that you could do. Financially, it again depends. This field has been low paying forever, and I still look at some jobs that, just to goof around. I'll look at places where I used to work. Are they hiring? And I'll look, and they'll be, their starting salaries are $48,000 a year, and I assume that's low paying. Because that's what they were paying 10 years ago, and it hasn't improved much at all. So, but there are ways to make more money in this field. Private practice is probably the top. I found it to be hilarious when it's about 8 years ago, I saw what the mighty bureaucratic monopoly, the University of Rochester, I saw what they paid my supervisor at the time. And I don't know how I saw it. I think it was like tax year, and she had like something out on her desk, and I wasn't looking for it. I think I just glanced at it and saw what her annual salary was. And she was the director. She was the manager of this program. And no, that wasn't a big enough number to do what she was doing. And yeah, I mean, I'll probably double that, but that's not it. But this is, this field will work you to death and pay you very poorly unless you take it into your own hands and do it yourself. So check the salaries in your area. You mentioned psychology specifically. If you want to go be a psychologist, you still need the master's degree, and then you need to figure out what area of psychology do you want to do. Do you want to do child psychology and work for the school districts? Do you want to do forensic psychology? Do you want to do a lot of testing? You can test for, you can do like testing of kids, ADHD and other learning disability tests you could administer. Or you could just be a talking psychologist. You could just get an office and sit and talk to people. A lot more education, a lot more detail in the psychology field. But look it up. Compare social work to mental health counseling degrees to psychology degrees and see which one opens the most doors for you. And decide what you want to do. Again, decide the population that you want to work with. You want to work with kids. You want to work with adults. You want to specialize in geriatrics. You want to specialize in addiction. Just figure out what you want to do, and go do it. So that is all. That is the Power Hour. I've got 4 minutes before my next person comes in. And that's that. There's hopefully you weren't bored to tears. I just gave you 25 minutes of education on my field. We'll see y'all next time. Good night now.